There's a city in America where they spent $2.8 billion to build the widest highway on Earth, 23 lanes of pure concrete, only to watch traffic get 50% worse, where streets are designed to flood on purpose, where walking to buy milk could literally kill you. In 2016, urban planners ranked America's worst designed cities, and sitting at number 1 was Houston, Texas. This is America's 4th largest city, an economic powerhouse that keeps growing despite, or maybe because of, its backwards design. Millions of people choose to live in what experts call an urban planning disaster. Houston didn't just build the world's widest highway, it built a monument to everything wrong with American urban design. In 2008, Texas had a problem. The Katy Freeway, stretching west from downtown Houston, was a daily nightmare of gridlock. The solution seemed obvious: make it bigger. Much bigger, so they did. Texas spent $2.8 billion transforming this highway into something unprecedented, a 23-lane monster that would become the widest freeway anywhere in the world. At its broadest point, it's wider than a football field is long. You could land a 747 on it. The engineers promised it would slash commute times and finally solve Houston's traffic crisis. 3 years later, something strange happened. The commute that used to take 47 minutes during rush hour, it now took 64 minutes. Some sections saw travel times increase by 55%. The billions spent to fix traffic had somehow made it worse. This wasn't a fluke. It's a phenomenon traffic engineers call induced demand. Essentially, when you make driving easier, more people drive. They drive longer distances. They make trips they wouldn't have made before. They move farther from work because the commute seems manageable. The Katy Freeway expansion reveals something crucial about Houston. The city doesn't just have an engineering problem, it has an engineering philosophy problem, and that philosophy shapes everything, from how fast you can drive to whether you'll survive crossing the street. Here's a number that should stop you cold: 345. That's how many people died on Houston's roads in 2024, a record high. And it's not getting better. To understand why, you need to understand how Houston's streets are designed. Just imagine that you're standing at the edge of a typical Houston arterial road. 6 lanes of traffic rush past at 50 miles per hour. The nearest crosswalk is half a mile away. The sidewalk, if there is one, is a narrow strip of concrete pressed against the thundering traffic, separated by nothing but a painted line. Houston's engineers made a choice decades ago, designed for speed and volume, not safety. Wide lanes that forgive driver error. Gentle curves that allow high speeds. Massive intersections that prioritize traffic flow. They called it forgiving design. Forgiving for drivers who drift out of their lane or take a turn too fast. But these same features that protect distracted drivers become death traps for everyone else. The city treats walking like an afterthought, or worse, an inconvenience to traffic flow. Crosswalks are spaced so far apart that people routinely jaywalk, not out of recklessness, but out of simple practicality. Asking someone to walk half a mile to a crosswalk, cross 6 lanes of high-speed traffic, then walk half a mile back is asking them to add 20 minutes to buy a gallon of milk. This isn't how all cities work. In Tokyo, residential streets are so calm that children walk to school unaccompanied. In Copenhagen, 62% of commutes happen on bicycles. But Houston built different. Houston built for the car, and only the car. And that choice shaped more than just transportation. It shaped bodies. In the early 2000s, Houston earned a distinction nobody wanted: America's fattest city. Men's Health magazine gave them the title multiple years running, and while these rankings are partly tongue-in-cheek, the underlying data was sobering. Houston's obesity rates consistently exceeded national averages. The question was, why? The answer was literally built into the streets. When every destination requires a car, walking becomes extinct. The average Houstonian drives for every single errand, not by choice, but by design. That 5-minute walk to the corner store, it doesn't exist. The corner store is 3 miles away, across 2 major arterials, in a strip mall surrounded by an ocean of parking. Public health researchers have a term for this: the built environment. And Houston's built environment is engineered to eliminate physical activity from daily life. No walking to work, no biking to school, no strolling to the park. Every trip, no matter how short, means sliding behind the wheel. Think about what this means for a typical day. Wake up, Walk 20 feet to your car in the garage. Drive to work. Park as close as possible to the entrance. Sit all day. Drive home. The only walking happens in parking lots. Compare that to cities where people naturally walk thousands of steps just living their lives, catching transit, climbing stairs, walking to lunch. The health impacts compound over time. Sedentary lifestyles link directly to obesity, diabetes, heart disease. Car dependency doesn't just shape the city, it shapes the people who live there. Houston literally engineered public health problems into its infrastructure. Here's the twist that shows how powerful design can be. When Houston does build walkable neighborhoods, people pay premium prices to live there. The Heights, Montrose, Midtown, these walkable areas command 40% higher prices per square foot than car-dependent neighborhoods. The market is screaming what it wants, but the city keeps building the opposite. But Houston's engineering choices created an even more dramatic failure, one that would transform streets into rivers and expose the fatal flaw in designing a city like a machine. Houston has a secret. Its streets aren't just streets, they're storm drains. Houston's engineers knew the city sat on flat clay soil that doesn't absorb water well. They knew tropical storms would dump tremendous amounts of rain, so they designed the streets to flood on purpose. During heavy rain, the roads become channels, sacrificing themselves to keep water out of homes. In moderate storms, you'll see streets turned into rivers while houses stay dry. It's clever engineering, or it was. Then, Hurricane Harvey arrived. Harvey dumped 50 inches of rain on Houston. That's 15 trillion gallons of water. To put that in perspective, it's enough to fill 23 million Olympic swimming pools. No city could handle that without flooding. But Houston's development patterns made it catastrophically worse. The engineered street drainage system worked exactly as designed until it was overwhelmed. Streets became raging torrents. Highways turned into lakes. The water had nowhere to go because there was nowhere left for it to go. Houston had paved its way into a trap. The real tragedy was how predictable it was. The city built neighborhoods in areas that everyone knew would flood. Former rice fields that naturally held water became suburbs with reassuring names like Lakes at Champion Forest. When Harvey hit, these neighborhoods went underwater, shocking residents but not hydrologists. After Harvey, there was talk of change, new regulations, better planning, resilient design. And what's happening now? Houston is still building in flood zones, still betting that engineering can overcome nature. The city treats flooding like a traffic problem, something to solve with more infrastructure, bigger drainage tunnels, higher levees, smarter pumps. But what if the answer isn't building more, but building different? What if the solution requires rethinking the entire model? That's the question Houston refuses to ask, because answering it would mean admitting that the whole system, the sprawl, the highways, the car dependency, is fundamentally broken. Other cities have figured this out. In fact, one megacity makes Houston look primitive by comparison. Tokyo has 37 million people in its metro area. Houston has 2.3 million. Yet in Tokyo, you can walk down the middle of many neighborhood streets because there's so little traffic. In Houston, crossing the street to buy milk might kill you. Tokyo rebuilt after World War II with a radical idea. What if a city didn't require cars? They built one of the world's most extensive rail networks. Over 30 million people ride trains daily. They mixed housing with shops and offices so people could walk to daily needs. They kept streets narrow to discourage driving. Only 12% of trips in Tokyo happen by car. In Houston, it's 95%. Look at car ownership. Tokyo, one of the world's wealthiest cities, has just 0.32 cars per household. Many families don't own a car at all, not because they can't afford one, but because they don't need one. The city is designed to make car-free life not just possible, but preferable. Trains arrive every 2 minutes. Convenience stores sit on every corner. Schools, parks, and clinics are within walking distance. Meanwhile, Houston households average 2 or 3 cars because the city is designed to make them mandatory. Miss your exit on the freeway? That's a 5-mile detour. Need groceries? That's a 20-minute round trip. Doctor's appointment? Better budget an hour for driving and parking. The cities are inverse mirrors. Tokyo optimized for people. Houston optimized for cars. Tokyo grew up and dense. Houston grew out and sprawled. Tokyo treats cars as one option among many. Houston treats cars as the only option. Houston is starting to recognize the problem. In 2019, nearly 70% of voters approved $7.5 billion for transit expansion. After decades of denial, even Houston is admitting that infinite highways aren't the answer. The city that epitomized car culture is slowly, painfully trying to change course. The question is whether it's too late. Houston built its DNA around the automobile. Every system, from storm drainage to school placement, assumes universal car ownership. Retrofitting walkability onto a city designed for driving is like trying to turn a highway into a hiking trail. It's possible, but it requires undoing almost everything. Houston stands at a crossroads, literally and figuratively. It can double down on the failed model, build that fourth ring road, widen more freeways, pave more prairie. Or it can choose the harder path, admitting that the experiment failed and that cities are for people, not cars. Houston perfectly demonstrates what happens when you mistake efficiency for effectiveness, when you optimize for cars instead of humans, when you believe you can engineer your way past physics and geography and the basic needs of human beings. The widest freeway in the world still has traffic jams. The city without zoning still has rules. The streets designed to flood still flood, just worse than intended. Every solution became a new problem because the underlying approach was flawed. Houston built a city for cars and wonders why people are unhappy. It's time to build cities for people and let the cars figure it out.